And I never I mean like I think it was like during the Renaissance, one of them.
Renaissance.
Renaissance of life.
Oh my
Yeah,
god. During the what, Morgan? Good morning. Oh my god. It is a weekday on a Thursday. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Slightly too early for a podcast recording, but I requested this time, so I cannot complain.
Nah. I mean like because it's a public holiday in Netherlands today, the Ascension Day. So I imagine a lot of activity is gonna be filled in the afternoon.
What is Ascension Day?
Ascension Day is like a religious holiday where it's believed that Jesus Christ enters heaven or goes into heaven. It was on this day.
I see.
Hence Ascension Day.
My buddy JC. I see. Okay.
But the one thing I find it a bit strange in Netherlands is that when there's a religious holiday like Easter Monday or Ascension Day, then there's like the public holiday is being followed. But for example, like Liberation Day, it's only celebrated or it's officially a public holiday every 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I find very weird because Netherlands is not particularly a religious country, but they get a day off for a religious event.
It's I would assume it's just historical. The country used to be very, very religious, and these kind of things are always hard to change. When you have public holidays tied to religious events, it's difficult to take that away from people, I would say. And you could also argue, if not religious events, what other events can they have public holidays on?
I don't know. I felt like Liberation Day, where Netherlands is liberated during World War II, should be something universal, right?
Yeah,
it's something
I agree.
Like everyone experienced before, and it feels like an important day.
Yeah, more holidays. Woohoo! I mean, I guess the question and I've also never Googled this. Why is Liberation Day only a public holiday once every 5 years? I feel like there must be some reason behind it, but yeah.
Huh. Interesting thought. All right. Well, speaking of holidays, I think everyone's gonna make holidays plan right now.
Do you have any big summer holiday plans made?
Currently, no.
I also don't have any. I think, but for me, it's a bit different. I want to keep it that way. I think the last few months has been quite challenging, for lack of a better word. And just, not having any big plans is good for me. I think I'm concentrating on more short-term things right now, and I'd like to keep it that way. But it doesn't eliminate the chance of some spontaneous plans if we just decide to... if you do want to go somewhere, then, we just go. But currently at the moment, there's no big, week-long holidays planned. Maybe short trips here and there.
Yeah. I mean, you haven't really experienced summer in Netherlands before, right?
Yeah, but the first year I was here, I got the summer experience. And I was actually quite warm in 2020 because we had a week where the temperatures were above 30. That really, really felt like Malaysia again.
But 2020 is a bit different. 2020 is the year that everyone stays at home.
Not yet, to be honest. 2020, there was still no lockdowns, still no measures. In the Netherlands, even though the rest of the world was already locking down and wearing masks, in June, July, August 2020, I think it was still fairly normal. We didn't know about mask wearing yet. And I remember joining parties out in the park during that time. So it was fairly normal. And that's also the time that I met my friends here now, like Chris and Stan. It was all through a meetup that happened in June. Yeah, just to give you an idea of how different things were. I was going to board game meetups, parties out in the park. Life was still fairly normal. What was different was that I had just moved to the country a few months ago, so I hadn't really established a network yet. And I feel like you have to go through a few winters for my body to really understand the cycle of the seasons here and how summer is something to appreciate after you've gone through a bad winter. Yeah, and at the time, I hadn't really learned to appreciate that. 2021 was the summer that never happened because of all the measures and because of the fact I went to Malaysia. So I never really got to experience last year's summer. So this year, hopefully, is going to be the year that I can enjoy a bit of sun and a bit of summer again.
All right. So I think it's a nice transition to my last trip.
Yes, you went to Bruges in Belgium.
Yeah. So I took your advice where this is my first time traveling alone.
Doom, doom, doom. Yeah. And you survived. And you survived. You came back in one piece.
Yeah, I survived. So give you some context, I visited Bruges in April.
Hmm.
So it was like mid spring. And I think a lot of things are opening up, like the flowers, and I think the lockdowns are loosened up as well. This is my first country out of Netherlands. Always wanted to visit Bruges. So Bruges is in Belgium.
Do we need to give like a quick geography lesson to our viewers?
Sure, you can give it a try.
Well, the Netherlands, we live in Amsterdam, which is a city that's located in the country of the Netherlands. Bruges is located in the country of Belgium. The Netherlands and Belgium share a border. Belgium is to the south of the Netherlands, southwest.
Well, but the interesting part is that Belgium is divided in three parts. There's the German-speaking part, and there's the French-speaking part. And then in the northern part, where it's closest to Netherlands, there's actually a big Dutch population speaking over there. So Bruges happened to be in the Dutch-speaking area. So in a way that I get to travel from a Dutch-speaking place to another Dutch-speaking place, that a lot of houses looks like Amsterdam as well.
Looking at the photos of Bruges, it did give me a lot of like mini Amsterdam kind of vibes. To start with, why Bruges?
It's a fairy tale, man. I feel like Europe has a lot of places where there's a lot of tourists, and Bruges is one of the few places that people don't know about it, but I think it's starting to get more and more popular. It's like a small, quiet village, and because April, I'm also celebrating my 30th birthday, so I was wondering like it would be a nice place to go to have a quiet, long weekend to contemplate about life.
That I did not know about. Okay.
Just now you talk about like a lot of houses in Bruges and Amsterdam are quite similar. Right? I've noticed that something a bit different is that in Amsterdam you have a lot of houses where there's hooks on the top level, right? And surprisingly, you can't find that in Bruges. You have the same houses without the hooks.
I see.
So you have the long staircase, like how to say steps at the roof, and then there's colorful brickwork, the arches and all that. But surprisingly,
But you know what those hooks were for, right? You know what those hooks were for in Amsterdam, right?
I think because the canals come before the roads, right?
Correct.
During the era where they do a lot of trading through boat, and when they need to move stuff in and out of the house, they use the hook to transport stuff.
Yep. It's like a lever.
Is it because a lot of merchants are in Amsterdam and they have like their warehouse at the...
I'm not claiming to be a historian of Amsterdam, so some of my statements could be not accurate because of the fact that this used to be a huge trading port. You know, there were a lot of merchants here. They needed to move goods from the ship into the houses. So the hook was used as like a lever to hoist goods up and put them on the first or second floor. And I think the fact that Bruges doesn't have it is probably more normal than the fact that Amsterdam has it. Did you get what I'm saying? Because there's no requirement to have that, then yeah, of course it wouldn't have it. Then it kind of leads to the question of what is the history of the city of Bruges? Do you know?
So when I reached Bruges, right, I actually spent a lot of time in their museums trying to learn their history. It's a bit bittersweet is that before Amsterdam, there was Bruges. So Bruges, right, it used to be a very popular trading port, just like Amsterdam. Because of the feud with the Austro-Hungarian Empire, they actually imposed like sanction against Bruges. So they like trying to pressure merchants to stay away from Bruges and do business more in Antwerp or in Amsterdam. So it feels like Bruges is like origins of Amsterdam, I would say, in a way, because a lot of the same people from Bruges moved to Amsterdam.
I see.
That's why you see a lot of similarities in terms of architecture, in terms of people, in terms of language, in terms of culture. Yeah, I actually quite surprised when I went there. I found out there's a lot of similarity between these two cities because they're also quite trading dependent, and then there's a lot of canals as well.
Is Bruges close to the ocean? How was Bruges very trading dependent?
So Bruges has a connection to the river, and then the river connects to the ocean. So Bruges is like your center. Of course, the location is not as perfect as Amsterdam, but because a lot of history, a lot of trading, a lot of rich people, a lot of money is in Bruges. That's why people gravitate towards there.
I see. I'm looking at the map
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
and Bruges is basically right next to the ocean.
But if you scroll down a bit, the whole district is Bruges, but the main city center is at the south. Can you see like a city in the middle of?
The Basilica of the Holy Blood.
Yeah, yeah. So it's surrounded by a lake.
I see. That's super interesting.
Basically, it's like a very natural moat to defend as a city during that time. Having a moat is very important. Hence, it's a very defensible city. Hence, people like to trade there because it's easily to defend.
I see. This is really interesting. I didn't know that the city was basically surrounded by like a natural moat. And this is natural or man-made, the moat?
Natural.
Fascinating. That is super cool.
It's quite a cozy little city. So when I arrived at Bruges, right, the bus ticket wasn't working, right? I was asking for people for help, like, oh, could you help me get the bus ticket? And they're like, actually, it's faster if you can walk because the city is quite small. Yeah. Initially, I thought that I would need a bicycle to navigate around, but turns out if you like to walk around the city, it's actually quite doable even without bicycles.
I mean, are there people actually riding bikes there?
There is.
That's cool.
So funny thing, right? So Bruges is known for like the most well-preserved medieval cities in Europe, right? And when I was there, immediately when I go into the city, the first thing I saw is horse carriages. So I was like, wow, they really mean it when they say well-preserved.
I see.
And then when I was walking down the street and I saw a supermarket, and it's Carrefour. I don't know.
I haven't seen one of those in a while, yeah?
Yeah, like I was like, oh yeah, like I haven't seen those since 20 years ago. Now, like it's quite prominent over there at Carrefour. Like, they even well preserve the supermarket as well.
I think Carrefour as a brand is so prominent in like France. And just to give some context for viewers, Carrefour used to be a brand that existed in Malaysia. I think it's fair to say in Malaysia, I never really had the reputation of Carrefour as a supermarket was sort of mid-tier. Yeah, so it wasn't really like a fancy place to do grocery shopping. But then they ceased to operate in Malaysia since, I don't know, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. I remember going to those as a kid, like you said, but nowadays, no, they're all gone. But I'm still curious about Bruges though, Morgan. I know I asked this question to you earlier, but like, why did you choose Bruges? Just how you said it's a fairy tale. But like, what do you mean by fairy tale? Like, what if you just chose Bruges just because? That's fine. Or like, if you chose it because you wanted to see the architecture because you knew it was a medieval city, that's fine. But like, yeah, what is it about Bruges that made you want it to go?
Well, I'm quite a film buff. I've always liked the movie In Bruges, where the whole film is based in the city of Bruges, and there's this romantic feeling about it. Like, not people know about it, and it's quite untouched by the destruction of World War II. So, for example, you get to experience something very different, like without the tall buildings, without the new glass windows. So over there, when I was walking around, I do felt lost. Sometimes I feel like, oh, I don't feel like I'm currently in the 21st century. A lot of stuff are still really well preserved.
So this is basically a very well preserved kampong in Europe.
Yep. Very gothic feeling. Luckily, when I was there, because I arrived on Friday and there wasn't much people in there. But during the weekends, you can see a lot of tourists. Mostly from the States, and a surprising amount of Indian tourists as well.
So you had a romantic trip with yourself in Bruges, yeah?
Yeah.
That's nice. Sounds very cozy. As you mentioned before, this was your first time traveling on your own, huh?
Yeah, I was a bit terrified at first because never traveled alone by myself before. Even when I tell my family or my friends, they're like, why don't you grab a buddy and travel with you? So I took one day off and just went there. I think it was during Easter Monday. Monday was off, so I took Friday off. So I have 4 days there.
Correct. Yep. I'm very curious about this as well because it does sort of touch on a big cultural difference that sort of traveling alone is not something that you wanted to do before, even. And like you said just now, even when you told your friends or family about it, they were like, "Oh, why don't you grab a friend with you?"
I do feel like there's a sense of, like, if you have a buddy with you, if something happened, at least you have someone to help you with, rather than traveling to an unfamiliar place. Unfamiliar place. Yeah. Like one of my a lot of troubles when I'm traveling alone or going to the city alone is that sometimes when you are eating in a restaurant, right, and you want to go pee, right, and then you can't go PP and then still come back to the same table, right? Because people thought you are done with the meal or the drink. So you always have to do that.
I mean,
How to say, like like shit, like can you hold the table? Then but I'll definitely come back again.
I see. I mean, that's such a okay. Can you just put something on the table
No,
and then go pee? What's the take a water bottle,
no,
put
it's
your
more like
bag on the table, and then go pee?
yeah. But what if you have something valuable in the bag?
Well, then
Yeah,
I mean, you
like
take something out that is not valuable from the bag, put it on the table. Well, there are two parts here as well. Your cutlery also matters. Do you know about the cutlery etiquette? Like if you put your knife and fork on opposite ends, it means you're not done yet. If you put them together on one side, it means you're done. So if you leave it, your knife and fork on like the opposite on like 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock, it means that you're still eating. And probably they will know, oh, this person just went to the toilet.
all right. Then how about if you're grabbing a drink? There's no etiquette for
Oh, at the bar.
I'm going to come back and finish this drink, right?
Yeah, then the etiquette is go pee in between your drinks.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be great if someone could safeguard your drink and the table while you go and pee in peace.
I would be inclined to say, even if you leave your half full drink there and you go step out for a minute or two, I mean, probably the staff, they are aware of their customers, so they will know that where you went, and they will not clean off the table just because you. Yeah, I think I kind of see this as a non-issue.
But you would have that anxiety, right? What if I come back and everything's gone, and I haven't really enjoyed that meal yet
Yeah,
or something?
I don't know if anxiety
Yeah.
is the word I would use, but I can understand to challenge. Yeah, I don't know. I also find it a bit of an odd challenge because like, what if your drink was taken away by the bar? Okay, just get another drink then. You know, it's is that too big of a deal to confronting?
But yeah, another thing I find like when you're traveling alone, it's a bit difficult. It's like sometimes you want to try different things in terms of like, you only have one stomach. If you have someone to
Yeah,
eat it
yeah,
with
yeah.
you, at least eat more varieties. Like
Yep. This I definitely
when I
agree
was in a
with, yeah.
restaurant in Bruges, I think I was asking for some fries, like some small fries, because it's just me. And they're like, "Sorry, man, we only have big fries." And I'm like, "Can you give me half of it?" They're like, "Nah, it's either all or nothing." So, but
Bad place.
yeah, but the food is
But
quite
yeah, I
nice over
understand
there.
that. Yeah, I think the food part is when you're traveling alone, it's harder to share. When I was traveling solo, I never really went anywhere where food was something I was looking out for. It's always just a necessity. I just need to eat, so I eat whatever. But yeah, I can understand if you're traveling alone, it's you just cannot try as much food unless you're snacking all day long, having small meals throughout the
This is
day. That
not
will probably be one
this is
way
not
to
the
do it.
first
But
time.
yeah, I understand
So
that it's not that easy.
this is my first time traveling, and this is also my first time staying in a hostel.
How was the hostel experience? Did you make any
Sadly, I
friends?
didn't make any friends. Although, beside the hostel, it's a very nice place to chill
Mm.
and to sit there and relax while you're in between days. Like for example, one play relax. I'm surprised by my hostel experience. I think like the one thing like crowded crowded toilet, and then quite unsafe and insecure because there's a lot of strangers that I went to. It's quite a pleasant experience. Example, when you were in your room, they provide you like with a locker, your stuff inside, but of course you have to get your own lock at the locker. So once you have it there, the toilet, it gets cleaned every day, and different rooms, nice. And I
Yeah.
the weird thing is that although I didn't have a lot of luck in the bar, but I have some luck making friends in the toilet while brushing your teeth, while waiting for the line or getting changed, and managed to have some small talk with people in the toilet, but not in the dormitory. Weird, right? But
I kind of make
unsurprising.
well, yeah, yes, and yeah. I think like your impression of the hostel that you mentioned earlier, I think that sounds a bit more like a hostel that you might find in Malaysia, or like what's the word? Less I think in Europe, you can expect hostels to be fairly clean and well maintained. I'm sure there are a bunch of laws and regulations as well about how like the ratio of toilet to people that they have. So yeah, but yeah, I'm happy that you enjoyed your experience staying in a hostel. Would you stay again in a hostel?
Yeah, I would. Because the price difference is too much. So per night when I stay hostel is 40 euros per night, and if you choose
Yeah.
to stay in a apartment or hotel, it's gonna shoot up to 100 or 219.
Mm.
And, I
Yeah.
mean, like if I have someone to travel with me, then the price wouldn't be so painful.
Yeah, that's always true as well. The more people you travel with, the cheaper per person you can get. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but I think
also
like
true. Yeah, but it just depends as well on what kind of trip you're looking for. I mean, it is a very different experience traveling alone versus traveling with a friend or a partner. It's just completely. It's to me, it's like apples and oranges. Yes, you are still going to the same place together, but if you're traveling alone, the only person you need to check with when you make your plans is yourself. And if you're traveling with somebody else, then that is no longer applicable. Every decision you make, you have to factor in the other person. It's just completely different. Like on your own, if you go to a museum and then you realize it sucks, fine, you leave, you go somewhere else, you do whatever you want to do. But if you're traveling with somebody else, it's not like that anymore. So to me, to hear, like maybe your friends or family saying, or like people telling you, hey, when you just grab a friend to go with you, that's like saying, I don't know the right analogy, but it is a big shift in terms of what I want out of a trip. I don't know if you
I
feel
don't
the
know.
same way.
I feel like in terms of activities, then yeah, sure. I mean, like for example, some people like outdoor activities, some people like shopping at museum and more cultural activities. I think stuff like that. I can imagine sometimes you need to compromise a bit.
Mm.
But I think we can always do the one that you talked about, where you with a bunch of friends travel to a place, everyone just goes out and do whatever they want. But they can always meet up again and talk about the day. Then I feel
Mm.
like a lean point. Like, oh yeah,
Mm.
like
Yeah.
a really nice place, and it's around here. I think like your own stuff, and we can meet at 5 o'clock. We can grab a beer, have a nice meal over at this location. So at least
Mm.
you have the benefits of traveling to see.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, until you get to the problem of like you do some days on your own and you do some days together, and then on the days you go together, everyone wants to go to this place, and one guy or girl goes like, I was there already yesterday. I don't want to go again." uh,
Oh,
but
all
yeah,
right.
that's an edge case, and yeah, there will be sort of a middle ground between the two
Yeah,
ways to travel.
because I that there's going to be a lot of traveling. I think one of the reason I want to come to Europe is because there's so many places to travel.
Yeah,
Sometimes when talking with friends, they talk about a lot of little villages, nice little town to visit. Then I'm like, wow, like would love to
yeah.
visit them. And
I think, yeah, I mean, Europe has a lot of history, of course. We tend to forget that it can be quite diverse. I mean, just look at it in terms of languages. There's so many local dialects of languages spoken, so many little pockets of the country which speak unique dialects, and it's just so much history here in Europe, and I think it's quite a diverse place from a historical, cultural, and linguistical perspective. From a culinary perspective as well. I haven't been to Italy or Spain, but no, those places are just 1 or 2 hour flights away, and it's a completely different place than
yeah,
what we
and I do
have
feel
here.
like reading and going there is totally different. Like al- although I've been always wanting to go to Bruges in my life, I've read a lot about it, but I still find a lot of surprising stuff over there.
I see. So you've read a lot about Bruges before you went. Um,
Reading
um,
about sorry, go ahead.
Did Yeah, so and then from what you read versus what you experienced, was it a match or was it like how did Bruges meet your expectations, basically?
I would say above. I see.
I see.
Uh,
What
I
part
don't
of
know,
it?
like
What part of it?
no, I wasn't salty. Like when a lot of people Bruges, they always talk about the bell tower. They always talk about how it was untouched, and then how it
Mm-hmm.
becomes a forgotten trading city. But when you go there,
Mm-hmm.
you can learn a lot of like what types of it was, and there's a very what do you call that? there's a very important artifact of Christianity, and it's stored in Bruges. What's it called again?
I see.
Yeah, the Basilica of Holy Blood, where in the church, 500 years ago, they actually obtained believed to be the blood of Jesus Christ. And yeah, finally, I was like, wow, like this is a very important artifact, and I'm surprised to find it in Bruges. I thought things like that would be in, I don't know, Rome, Israel, or the Vatican City, but I'm surprised that in a Christianity artifact.
I'm
And
surprised by
I
that too.
managed to see one of Michelangelo's sculpture. And Michelangelo is a Italian sculptor, I think, during Leonardo da Vinci's era, during the Renaissance period. And I didn't expect to find it in Bruges as well. One of the sculpture were the Madonna and the Child. But do you know why that sculpture is in Bruges?
I have a guess, and let me tell me if I'm right or wrong. It is due to war and conquest. It was pillaged from the south and brought up here to the north.
No, it's actually quite a peaceful, how to call it, commercial transaction. Michelangelo's sculpture, a lot of them never leave Italy. But this particular sculpture, the Madonna and the Child, because the child is Jesus, right? And that child has a penis on it. And then, how to say, in Italy, when you have such a important figure in Christianity and they shouldn't have this sexual organs.
I see.
And it was a big taboo. And then I think somebody in Bruges caught wind of it. Then they're like, well, we don't mind having that over in Bruges. We don't mind having a baby with a penis because it's deemed very taboo in Italy. Actually, this sculpture has been stolen before. So it was stolen during World War II. I think it was stolen in the Middle Ages as well, I think. It was stolen twice. And it was brought back to Bruges. Yeah, has been there ever since. So, don't have to travel to Rome to take a look at Michelangelo's sculpture. You just have to go to Bruges.
I thought you were going to say, so you don't have to travel to Rome to look at JC's penis. You can just travel to Bruges. I see.
Do you want to put that in?
How would you rate this trip on a scale of 1 to 10 then?
It's a bit unfair. It's a bit unfair. I think this would be like the baseline of perfection.
Baseline of perfection. Wow. That's a good way to say it.
Because I was there, the weather was nice, it wasn't too crowded. And then I actually never told you. The first day when I arrived, I was a bit lost in the city. But I was a bit like, those people always said that it's really nice to have a canal cruise in the evening, right? And then in Bruges, there was one cruise operator. They operate the latest. Like their working hours is like 6 o'clock, where others close shop at 5. So my first day in Bruges, I was just lost. I was like, all right, there's this place in front of Little Venice. Little Venice is in the restaurant called Little Venice. And in front of there's a cruise that operates until 6. So I was just walking around, didn't have the intention of finding this place. I just got lost, like, oh, look at that alley. So I just walk there. And then I stumbled upon this cruise when they were like, oh, last call, do you want to come in? Then I was like looking up, looking down. I was like, wow, this is a place that people have been talking about. Then I managed to get to the cruise. So I'm the last person in the last day of the cruise. It was nice.
Nice. And how was the cruise?
The cruise managed to take you around the city. And then they actually talked about... because I did this in the first day, so they kind of give me this sense of geography. Like, this is the place where the church is. This is where they shoot the movie in Bruges. And this is a very nice bar you can pop by later. It's by the canal. I was like, wow, there's a bar beside the canal. It's quite nice. So it gets you a sense of geography. So I would say that next time if I travel to a city, if there's a cruise available, I would definitely take the cruise where at least you get to know the geography of the city before you actually start exploring in it. Yeah, you get to feel the city, and then you get to take note of the places. And then sometimes they talk about some history as well. And then after that, when you get to explore the city, you have a better idea.
Yep. I don't think you will find many places where there's a city with a natural moat going around it, if I may say. But yeah, it is a good call out. I mean, you can always
But
join. You can just always join a walking tour as well. That's usually what I do when I visit a city the first time. The first day, I'll book a walking tour, and they will cover the most touristy main spots, and also you get to talk to someone who knows a bit more about the city. So that's usually what I do if I'm traveling alone in a new city for the first time.
actually, the next day I went to a walking tour.
I see.
I think it's one of the surprisingly part of the trip as well, because I really learned a lot from the walking tour. Yeah, the one weird thing about traveling in Europe, I'm not sure whether it's Europe or just Belgium, is that a lot of nice places to hang out, like in the pubs, in the restaurant, or by the canals. They all close shop at 5 to 6 o'clock.
Oh, typical Europe.
Then I was like, but then I was like, shouldn't you have how to say? Wouldn't you have more business if you operate until the night? Because it's a really nice place, and I would like to spend more time there. And sometimes, like during the day, you would travel more, and then at night you just kick back and relax, and it's
Mm,
the perfect place to just relax. But it's not open, so you have to go to some city center bar, more main street kind of
yeah.
restaurants.
I mean, it's a cultural difference here, I would say, because yes, you can make more money from doing that, but I think people I would assume people would think, yeah, but I'm not going to sacrifice my own personal time just to make a bit more money. My personal time is more important than making a bunch of money. I would assume that's how they're thinking here, and that's why all the touristy places are open much later because those are not really operated by local people. Those are operated, I don't know, like the owners of those spaces don't work at the shop anymore, if that's one way to describe it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's a bit catch 22. It's like you travel all the way here, but you only can experience some parts of it. Yeah.
Yeah, just to go during the day then. But yeah, at night, yeah, stuck in all the touristy places.
When I was traveling to Bruges, when I came back, I was talking with some people who traveled to Bruges before, and I feel like we have very, very different experience in Bruges.
Mm,
Like when people go to Bruges, they go to the famous Belfry Tower in the middle. So there's a
mm.
courtyard. People grab beer and just hang out in that area in general. So they don't actually really go and explore the city, go to the museum, go to get lost in the city. Yeah, have a very different experience for different
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Quite surprising.
I have an impression that Bruges, for a majority of the people, is a pit stop. It's somewhere you drop by along the way. Like if you're in Antwerp or in Brussels, then let's do a day trip to Bruges. And I think it might be fair to say you were sort of the minority here, where you actually spent your trip was just to go to Bruges and then back. I think a lot of people just drop by in Bruges, and when you're dropping by,
That makes sense.
then you just do the most touristy thing that you can do. Just grab a beer in the tower, the bell tower, like you said, and yeah,
Yep,
it's just about
I see.
getting a feel for the city and not yeah. I'm sure
All
those
right.
American tourists that you saw as well. Yeah, Bruges was just a stop, probably not more than a day there. And that's my impression of Bruges.
Uh,
Basically, it doesn't seem like a kind of a
all
big
right.
place, because there's Brussels, there's a much bigger touristy sites to see in other places, I think. But it's beautiful that for you this was the main destination then, because you managed to get a very different experience out of Bruges, one that other people didn't get to have, and that is unique and special.
Yeah, yeah. I do feel that as well. It's like I felt like next time if I'm bringing someone to Bruges, I'm able to become the tour guide already. Because I learned so much, seen so much. Yeah,
Actually, well,
like
your girlfriend might be coming over. You're gonna bring her to Bruges.
yeah, yeah. I'm tempting to do it.
Actually, you're gonna stay in a hostel again.
We'll see, we'll see. Yeah, and I feel like when you're exploring a city, right, sometimes it's a bit difficult. I feel like Bruges did a good job because there's a lot of like you remember you talk about like every city in Europe has a museum card, right? And I'm surprised that in a small city like Bruges, they actually have a museum card as well. And there's a
Mm.
lot of places that you can visit.
Mm.
And there's museums, there's houses, and some poets, old cottage, and you can get to visit windmills. You get to climb the tower, and it's all part of the museum card
I
uh,
see.
entrance.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Like one thing about Bruges is like there's a lot of legends about it. And that enforced the idea of that's why I feel like it's a fairy tale over there, because there's a lot of legends there.
What kind of legends are we talking about here?
So there's one lake over there. They call it the Medieval Water Lake, Mani Water Park. Over there, there's a big lake.
Mm-hmm.
So the legend said that I think the prince and the princess fell in love, and then the princess ran away, and then when the prince found the princess, and the princess was dead, and then the prince, in grief, drained the water from the lake, and then buried the princess' body in the middle of the lake. Hence, this becomes like a love lake.
I
Yeah,
see.
but that place is really serene and nice, and it feels very romantic in a way, but has a
Uh-huh.
really tragic backstory.
Well, a very tragic legend behind it, yeah.
But there was one really funny, legend that I only found out when I came back.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this one alley between the city hall and I'm not sure. I think some rich guy's house. And then I mean, they used to be a lord or something, and then they have a very nice house between the city hall. And then that street is called the Blind Donkey Alley.
Okay.
So Bruges, the animal that signifies Bruges is dragon.
Okay.
There used to be like a dragon model in the city hall. And then one day, I think a few people from Antwerp came over with the intention of stealing the dragon as a prank or something.
Okay.
And then they have a donkey with a cart, and the donkey is from Bruges. And then the donkey refuses to move the cart because the donkey feels like it's betraying part of Bruges.
I see.
And then so they blindfolded the donkey, and then the donkey only moved the cart to Antwerp. So believe it or not, that dragon right now is in Antwerp.
Oh,
There's a live model dragon sculpture that's currently in Antwerp, and the story is that it was stolen from Bruges
I see.
in this alley. So yeah, I find it surprising. Like you have a lot of small little myths like this, and you're like, oh, actually, if you go to Antwerp, the living crime evidence is still there. Yeah,
I see.
stuff like that. Stuff like that. Yeah.
That's interesting.
But I never really asked, like, which city that you travel alone, or your first time traveling alone?
Oh, one sec. My robot vacuum is starting.
Dun, 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 dun. 10 o'clock. Clean. Clean. Where's the first city that you travel alone?
Penang, probably?
Really? Penang? Huh. Penang, huh? But you have friends in Penang, right?
Yeah. I met Jason in Penang and another friend, yeah. But still, going there, went on my own, and stayed a few days on my own, and I never stayed with them. I just met them when I was there. I would say, I mean, Penang. Even when I was in California, the first few days I was on my own before my partner at the time joined me. And in Ireland, when I lived in Ireland, I did a trip to Munich, Amsterdam, and Berlin.
That was alone.
Yeah, that was a solo trip, yeah. And that was really when I think that was probably the biggest trip that I did on my own fully. Yeah, that was really nice because completely on my own. I didn't have to decide on anything with anybody else. Just did everything on my own. That was a big trip on my own, yeah. When I moved to Amsterdam, I don't think I've ever done a solo trip ever since, really. Like, if you take a train to Eindhoven or Rotterdam, like, I wouldn't, yeah, I mean, I would be on my own, but I wouldn't really consider that to be a solo trip, so to speak. So yeah, for me, it's been a while since I should travel on my own. Because when I went back to Malaysia last year, that was a solo trip because I went on my own. Yeah, I was, of course, there I stayed with my family, but
I see. Because the way I see is that when you're traveling alone, technically it's like you're traveling to an unfamiliar place.
Yeah.
I think that would constitute more like traveling alone.
Yeah, that's true. Then my last solo trip was in 2018. Wow, 3 years ago now, 4 years ago maybe. Basically, when I was in Ireland and I had decided that I didn't want to live in Dublin anymore and I wanted to find out where my next city was going to be. And I shortlisted Munich, Amsterdam, and Berlin. And I thought, yeah, let's just visit all three in one trip. And I think I spent 2.5 weeks in total traveling to these three cities. I fell in love with Amsterdam, and that's why I'm here now. So I'm very happy that I made that
No.
trip, because I found out that Amsterdam was the place I wanted to
So
be.
you get to take a peek at the life here before deciding to move over here. That's nice.
Yeah, because when I took the job offer to go from Malaysia to Dublin, I had never traveled to Dublin. I had never seen a photo of Dublin. I just took the job offer and just went. And I have no regrets about that. But it was it was a trip with no information. I did not know what I was getting myself into. And I guess at that point in my life, that is what I was looking for. But yeah, I decided the second move would be a bit more, slightly more calculated. Therefore, doing I forgot, my girlfriend uses a term like sight to see, to touch, no, like to
Site
sightseeing,
surveying.
sight
Site
surveying,
surveying.
like yeah, touch,
Like
yeah, basically,
like
yeah,
archaeology. You go to the place
yeah, I do like a
to
survey, yeah.
decide whether you want to dig. Yeah,
A
well,
visit survey, I don't know, a site survey. Yeah, basically to go there and to kind of see what life is like. But it should also be pointed out, this is living in a city is completely different than visiting a city. So even if you visit the city, but if you plan every day to do touristy things, then you're not going to experience what living in the city might be like. So when I was here, what I would always do was I would alternate days, I think. Like I would plan stuff on day one. Day two, I would just leave it empty and say, hey, I'm going to travel to this spot and just, explore. Then day three, do something. Day four, keep it empty again. And that way I had a bit of a balance between both. And it was also to keep track of my own energy levels, because I didn't want to plan
all right.
everything every day. That would just be too tiring. But yeah.
Nice. Like you said, you get to experience Amsterdam in King's Day, right? So that's like the
Yes,
fully
I
Dutch
did.
experience already.
Yeah. It was really funny. I didn't.
So once you have that,
It was actually a big, yeah. Oh, there was to me, it's a big drama when I flew into Amsterdam the first time. So I had an Airbnb booked in Amsterdam Nord, and I was arriving late at night. I think it was around midnight. I had prior communication with my Airbnb host, and yeah, he said, "Yeah, everything's okay. You're booked, whatever." But then on the day itself, in the evening, I couldn't get in touch with him. And then I was at the airport. I knew I had an Airbnb booked. I did not know whether I couldn't communicate with my host on that night. So, like, what do, right? Do you just go and hope that everything works out, or what? This would have been okay, but the last time I did this in Japan, it was a bad decision. Last time this happened to me in Japan,
I was actually about to bring this up, but like you really have bad luck with Airbnb and host.
very similar
Yeah.
situation. Arriving late at night, prior communication with the host was all okay. But yeah, on the night, I couldn't get in touch with the host. So then we were like, yeah, do we just go or do we sleep at the airport? I said, let's just go because we have the address and everything. Let's just go. And it turns out, nope, we couldn't find the place. The host wasn't there, whatever. Like it didn't work out. So we had to book a hotel for the night, which was very expensive. And coming back to Amsterdam, I was like, oh shit, like what do I do? Do I do the same thing again? Because yeah, I could just take the risk. I decided, nope, let's play it safe. Let's not do that. Let's just book a hotel at the airport. Also very expensive. But yeah, I booked into the hotel at the airport. I put my bag down and then boom, the host calls me back and says, oh, sorry, I had my phone. Da, 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 da. Are you still coming? I'm waiting. I'm like, I just booked a hotel for the night because I couldn't get in touch with you. So that was really not a good start to the Amsterdam trip. But I must say it worked out well because in the end, to be honest, I was really happy that I slept at the hotel that night because I was quite tired and it was good to sort of rejuvenate for one night.
Then do you get to see planes in the morning from your window?
No, not at that hotel. No, I don't remember. I was not looking I was not in the state to look for planes. But yeah, I also realized on that trip, staying in an Airbnb. No, an Airbnb is not a hotel, and depends on what kind of experience you want. Like hostel versus Airbnb versus hotel, all three very different experiences. And for that trip, I was staying in Airbnbs a lot, which was okay from the price to comfort ratio. It was okay, but it's not like I was cooking food or anything. So I wasn't really. The only advantage of an Airbnb for me was price. I was just
Cheaper?
I was looking for something cheaper,
Yeah.
basically. But yeah, it really depends on what kind of trip you're looking for. I think in my life now, there's a bit of a transition where price is no longer the first point of concern when doing a trip. It's more of comfort. And I don't mean like I want to stay in a 5-star hotel every time. It's just sorting by price is no longer the first thing I do. It's not about saving the most money. It's about finding that perfect balance between spending enough to feel comfortable and rested for the trip, because that is important. My own comfort levels.
All right. Huh. I never heard about this story before. That your first night in Amsterdam is in Schiphol Airport.
Yeah, and
Your
yeah,
like the plane guy gets to stay in the airport on his first night in Amsterdam.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, it didn't. And then it was all okay. I met the host next day. No money was deducted. Like I had to still pay for the night anyway because it was sort of my fault. But I haven't. Ever since then, I sort of knew if I'm going to book an Airbnb, I will not do late check-in for Airbnb. I will either check in the morning or during the day. If I have a late check-in, if like my flight is arriving late at night, I will gravitate towards booking a hotel or hostel instead.
So, Adam, on top of your head, if you were to travel alone again, which city would you pick and go next? Like on top of your head right now?
Italy, I think.
Italy, huh? The northern part
Italy,
or
I
the
think.
southern part? Tuscany?
Both. If I was doing a solo trip, I'd do both.
Italy.
North and south. Maybe start in the north and then fly to the south and then fly back here. Yeah. Well,
nice,
yeah,
nice.
but to be honest, I have to
Alright.
admit it feels a bit forced. At the top of my head now, solo trips are there's nothing really burning in terms of a solo trip. I have more plans for trips with my girlfriend now. Solo trips they will come again, but the desire to do a solo trip now is very minimal. Except for maybe the aviation museum in Amsterdam, in Almere. There's an aviation museum that I haven't been to, or maybe if I go to a racetrack somewhere just to visit. The kind of trip where I feel like, I don't like I'm sure my girlfriend will support me and be happy to see that I'm happy. But it's also one of those trips where it's like, I feel like I'm just gonna geek out and enjoy it on my own. That might be something.
All right.
Yeah. Do you have a place in mind?
My next solo trip is gonna be in July. Gonna be in Berlin.
I see. Well,
part two.
This is
Traveling alone.
I see. I mean, this is a work trip.
Yeah. But I still get to spend 1 weekend in the city itself.
Yeah. Well, I don't. To be honest, for you, Berlin that weekend, like you're going to be at a conference, 3 or 4 days. Berlin's big, and you probably want to spend a bit more time exploring the city, man. I would recommend a good few days there to really explore.
Yeah, I mean, like since it's convenient, so I felt like just can spend a weekend there just to take a look around. Because I think like I mean,
why not take a bit more time off as well to just enjoy the city a bit more? I have a friend who lives in Berlin who works as a tour guide, actually, now that I've forgotten. Now that I've remembered.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm sure if I get in touch with her, she'll be more than happy to, for the price of I don't know, maybe there's some special rate she can offer. I'm sure she'd be more than happy to show you around. I don't know if it matters, but she's also of Chinese descent.
Hey, wow! All right.
She's Indonesian, but grew up in Singapore. Now has an American passport. But yeah, I would recommend you spending like more than just a weekend there. It's a big place, and you should explore Berlin.
Yeah. If I were to travel alone, Germany would be a nice place. Cologne or Munich or somewhere in the Black Forest in the southern part.
Mm-hmm. My general impression of Germany, or like if you go to Munich versus Berlin, completely different places. Munich is proper Bavarian, like Oktoberfest, all those Lederhosen. That's all Bavarian culture. It's not necessarily German culture, it's Bavarian culture. And Munich is probably one of the cleanest, safest, most law-abiding cities in the world. And Berlin is a lot more loose because it's a lot more international. You have people from all over the place, and it's a huge, huge city. And for lack of a better way to describe it, I felt like your typical idea of Germany, where people are rule following and stuff like that. That's not really Berlin. Berlin is just big and international. But in both places, it's the same thing. People don't really want to speak English to you, which I find to be really odd. But yeah, that's the impression I got.
Guten Tag.
Yeah, guten Tag. But yeah. Well, I hope you enjoy your trip to Berlin. I'm sure we'll talk again before that. But yeah. I mean, you also have a lot of leave, right? What are you going to use your leave for?
September or
I see.
December.
You're saving it up for that. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, you can also
Yeah.
you can also work remotely from Berlin, right? For the first few days.
Nah, I think it's fine for now. I haven't really thought about it. I was thinking like, oh, long weekend, can spend extra days in Berlin. But yeah, who knows? I mean, like, if I like the place a lot, we'll definitely come back again. I just want to have an excuse to explore Berlin a bit. Like, oh yeah, there's a event in Harlem, so I'll find an excuse to go visit Harlem.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, I got you.
yeah, I think that kind of sums it up. I think both of us talk about our experiences traveling alone, the things that we look out for, the things that we learn, the things that we experience. So, for example, two-person going to a same trip might have different experiences, and that's fine. And yeah, hoping there'll be interesting solo trips in the future.
I hope so too. Solo tips are fun. I think, yeah.
I felt like following your advice. I think it's a really nice experience. If you haven't told me about traveling, the idea of traveling alone, I might not have went to Bruges alone.
I find this really surprising. Like, and I wonder how to sort of capture this I don't know what to call it, cultural difference or whatever. But the fact that for you traveling alone was such a not even a consideration, I find it to be very surprising. Yeah, and I wonder, is it which is more common? You know, do we have more people who also would never consider traveling alone, or is there actually more people who would travel alone? I find it interesting, and I don't know how to really, I just find it interesting.
Oh well. All right. So if you like what you're hearing, you can subscribe to us on Rojak Tech Pod on Twitter. That's ROJAKTECHPOD. All right. I'll catch you next time, Adam.
Nice. I'll catch you next time, Morgan. Do we?
Do we?